Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 276 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on December 21st, 2020. I've recently learned that is after Hanukkah. Joining me tonight, we have Dave, Gavin, Brian, and Benny.
Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Feel free to email the show and tell us how your Orthodox calendar works, because there was some confusion about that in the little pre-show. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CVP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit Canadian Patriot Podcast homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment. This is called What Are We Drinking? If you haven't figured it out yet, or it's your first time, it's where I ask what you're drinking. We're going to go around. We'll start with Dave. Dave, what are you drinking?
I'm keeping things festive with some festive pudding ale.
And who makes festive pudding ale?
It says Green King. It's from UK, so
Sounds like they should be making pot.
it's from across the pond.
Okay, I'll try it. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking the traditional beverage of my people, given that today is the start of Viola Jack and Coke Zero.
I thought it was mead. That's still brewing, right?
Of his people.
Yeah, alcoholics. Yeah.
I see.
That are also diabetic. Yeah.
Brian, what are you drinking?
Just drinking some Coors Light out of a Moosehead glass from National Lampoon's Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah.
I dig
Nice.
it.
That's awesome.
Benny, what are you drinking?
SodaStream and rum.
I have
Traditional
more
beverage of
triggering-
his people.
I have more triggering beer choices for this evening from Shakespeare Brewing. Keeping on brand for December, I have another Christmas themed beer. It's a Christmas tree ale made with real Christmas tree.
Wow.
So is that more or less piney than like an IPA?
Less bitter than an IPA. It's
Is
not very hoppy at all, but it does definitely have like the Christmas tree evergreen kind of a flavor.
Is it more piney than a gin?
Actually, you know what? The flavor of gin is not terribly dissimilar. It's that kind of resiny juniper-y taste.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's
the Coke
definitely
and the
hard
7-Up
pass.
for.
Yeah, it's that kind of juniper-y taste. It's
Wow.
it's different.
Yeah,
Tune in next
That's all-
week. It was a 4-pack. There's one more.
that's always a good way to describe something. Well, it was different.
I'd drink more of it. It's not bad. It's just
Not good.
very unusual.
Kind of like the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
To all of our Patreons, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Both of you. I apologize. We also want to remind everybody, do the Patriot Challenge. If you're not doing 5 things every day to be a better person, you probably should reconsider your life. New Year's is coming and all that good stuff. Exercise, practice a skill, read a book, drink your water. Beer is mostly water, but does not count. And complete a task to improve your life. Social media templates on the website. I can't see it if you put it on social media. Sorry.
But do it anyways. It's like that whole Santa thing. We know if you've been naughty or nice, so just do it.
All right, let's do some news. I'm going to turn the first one over to Dave and Brian.
Yeah, so on Saturday, I believe it was. Oh no, sorry, it was on a Thursday, but it didn't get reported or make the rounds on the internet basically till the weekend. Most people have probably seen it by now, either on their local news or on the Book of Faces, about the 2 lady cops trying to tackle the kid who's on skates down to the ice for some unknown reason. In the video, you just see them trying to tackle him for a good like 5 minutes while he just keeps shaking them off. It's pretty funny actually, even though because they just keep getting madder and madder.
Yeah. They're trying to take him down so hard. And
Yeah,
he's
they're
just like, what are you doing? We're like,
stop
what's
it!
going on?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
to me? You guys' technique sucks.
But yeah, so the backstory on it that you don't really get from it, I read an article. So basically, some bystander, some Karen, we'll call her Karen, called the bylaw officer because there was
More than
obviously
50 skaters, or
there's too many skaters on the rink causing a ruckus
yeah,
because you know kids staying out of trouble. We can't have that.
yeah.
And
Skating is the #1 cause of spreading the coronas. That's
Yeah,
been proven
100%.
scientifically.
100%.
Yeah.
And so Byla shows up. The kids obviously tell Byla to shove it up his ass, basically. I mean, what's Byla going to do? So obviously he then sees no other choice but to call the cops. And then that's when, you know, fearless two ladies show up with backup to arrest this dangerous individual down to the ice. I believe he was charged with disorderly conduct, whatever it is, something like that. And resisting arrest. And they may have charged him with assaulting a police officer because he did.
Didn't they pull their tasers on him too?
Oh yeah, they totally threatened to tase him.
Threatened about tasing for sure.
Oh, 100%. That's when he kind of started being like, all right, fine, but he still
have they not
a bunch
watched
of guff.
Any YouTube videos? The guy was probably wearing. I didn't watch the video, but he was probably wearing a coat or something. What are they going to tase his coat?
No, he was just wearing a hockey jersey. Actually, and the thing was, he wasn't wearing a helmet. So thankfully, they didn't tase him because if he fucking went stiff and he was standing on the ice the whole time, if he did go stiff on the ice, he probably would have cracked his goddamn skull open. So thank God they didn't. Honestly, so
I thought it was
the only good thing that came out of that.
The level of aggression that the police officers brought it to.
Oh yeah, well the two ladies just kept getting angrier because they were a foot and a half shorter than them.
Well, I don't even know why they tried. In the video, they tried to knee him in the nuts a couple times.
Yeah, that too.
Right,
and I don't even know why they tried. To be honest,
they were kneeing him like multiple times. It was too aggressive for me. I personally think it was a little ridiculous for getting a call about somebody playing hockey.
Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is go sit in your squad car and wait for him to get off the ice, and then you can go do what you got to do and, place him in handcuffs.
Much like Jordan Peterson says, like, let kids that are skateboarding skate.
Yeah.
Or whatever. How about you just let kids that are skating skate?
Yeah.
Don't fuck with them.
But to be honest with you, it looked like at the point of the officers arriving, it kind of seemed like everybody had scattered at that point. So the issue of having too many people in one place was resolved. So they could have just given him a bit of a talking to and let him be on his way. But
no, they had to show their superiority.
Yeah, they had.
Is that the whole that's the whole crux of the issue? Is like there was too many people there, and by the time the police actually showed up, there this kid was the only kid that was still skating.
And then
he was the only one that was defying them, saying, I'm not going anywhere.
For sure, Andrew, that the kid, I'm sure he was cocking a little bit of lip. I'm sure he had a little bit of attitude, and he was probably like, why, like, why do I have?
That's literally all he was doing. Was just,
but I mean,
why are you doing this? We're not doing anything wrong. And he's not wrong.
He deserved the response that it got from the officers and the aggression level that they.
And he's also actually, like, it's come to light later also that he's actually a very upstanding kid, and he's the little brother of a future NHLer. The guy's in the WHL, which is the league just below the NHL, and he's the little brother of them. So he's
the women's hockey league. Is that?
No, Western Hockey League.
They only put the W in front of it when it's basketball.
We're talking about sports ball now.
Yeah. I know. I'm very confused.
Sorry. WHL is the Western Hockey League, where
not like the WNBA.
You got to be a good hockey player to be in that league. Put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. You're like I said, you're a couple steps away from playing the NHL, so that's where his brother plays, and then he's obviously younger. He's only 21, but
your career's either on the way up or on the way out when you're in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, obviously, probably has a pretty clean record, most likely. Can't say for sure, but the whole situation obviously just got blown way out of proportion, and you would think the more mature adults could figure out some way to just.
But it's the Coronas, Dave. If they don't overreact, did they react at all?
have these cops been suspended?
No, man.
Reprimanded?
100% not.
Doubled, I seen a report that said they doubled down on it. They're
Yeah.
like, no,
They're charging the guy
yeah,
with
and they're
like I
following
said,
through on
resisting
it.
arrest and like I said, possibly
I'm probably the minority opinion out there, although you guys probably agree with me. But if you're making an unlawful arrest, then it's unlawful. I don't know what were they arresting because the guy gave some bylaw officer some lip.
yeah, basically refused to show ID, I guess, and then they tried to arrest him. I guess.
And so for that, you can beat someone. That makes a lot of sense in my eyes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't see it going anywhere, especially if it's like his first offense. I bet it gets tossed, but
I think less about
guys,
his.
I'm gonna call the elephant in the room here too. I think if his skin color was a different pigment, it'd probably be picked up a little bit more on the news.
yeah, that too.
No, I don't think those officers would have responded the way they did if he wasn't white.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. Is they took it to that level where they know
But it doesn't
they
make
take it to because they're not going to get in trouble because he's a white kid.
But it doesn't make a difference what color he was because, beating up someone because
that's
they're
my
not,
whole point is
they're,
that
they're in a public park is irrelevant. Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to realize that it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Is it really worth it to beat up a kid because he's playing on the ice?
Yes.
COVID. Like obviously COVID is a real issue.
Official position: defund the Calgary police. Kids can skate.
Yes.
Well, if that's what they're going to be doing, then
defund the cops, but let the kids skate.
All I know is
I think
that
it's
free men don't
interesting.
need permission to go and skate, especially on public property.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting. It took
the thing is the rink was outdoors
to get to this point.
Like what do you want? Like the kids have nothing better to do. It's Christmas vacation.
They're going to start patrolling the hills.
They're trying to stay active.
Sledding.
They're trying to stay in shape. They're trying to stay away from the video games. They were all wearing, like, the goalie was there in full equipment. So, like, they're obviously, playing hard, like playing seriously and trying to have some fun. And just can't have any of that. Just, I don't know. It's insane what this world's coming to.
2 more ridiculous lockdown things. Last week, we're going back to an article we skipped over. Toronto opens a speakeasy. Well, I mean, not actually, but if we lived in a way cooler time, that's what would have happened. Toronto police charge a business for operating a bar during the COVID-19 lockdown. So Toronto was in gray lockdown, whatever, last week. And Toronto police found 40 people in a bar not wearing masks or following any of the other COVID guidelines 20 minutes or so after they told them to open up. And they spent 20 minutes allegedly cleaning up the bar.
What?
I don't know. Somebody in Toronto is operating a speakeasy, and I want to go drink there.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
10
know.
out of 10 would drink. Yeah.
I wouldn't tell you guys where it is, even if I knew.
100%.
All right.
Snitches get stitches.
So I guess the owners there are looking at about $100,000 in fines from
Start a GoFundMe, you'll be fine.
I'm pretty sure we could rack up a bar tab to make it worth their while.
Yeah.
So how many chicken wings have you guys got in the freezer?
Yeah.
I got about 10 pounds.
How many chicken wings is it going to take for you to open up your bar?
Yeah.
We've been in a bar, Brian. We've been in a bar where we've had them turn the fryer back on because we've ordered that
with that exact
you told me that
conversation.
story. I heard that story.
Yeah. That was a good time. I think that was
going home.
I think that was the time
first charity
that
shoot.
Tyler got swatted at the charity shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the night before. Yeah. Although I think the most wings we've ever ordered was the night before the ugly Christmas sweater shoot when we all stayed at Tyler's place and we basically bought the entire bar out of chicken wings.
Isn't that a college game?
That's when you drink the bar out of alcohol.
My football team ate a bar out of chicken wings on an all-you-can-eat night. They didn't see us coming.
I think there was maybe like 10 of us or whatever at Tyler's place last year. We all ordered like 2 pounds. So like one order of 20 pounds of There's a lot of chicken wings.
Yeah, that was some good chicken wings too.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing worth mentioning since we're on the Rona topic, Ontario is going full retard. I mean, full lockdown.
Well,
your first word was right.
Should never go full retard.
At least south of Sudbury, it's going full retard. north of Sudbury, it's going like 3/4 retard because it's just not doing it for as long.
Boxing Day, they're going to shut it down. Is that
Yep,
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
gist of it? I didn't catch the news conference. I had work to do today.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube. They're shutting it all down, except for essential workers, and
it's
basically the same way it was again. We're going back to like standing in lineups at the grocery store, and
everything went back more or less to how it was in the original lockdown, but maybe like slightly not as bad, but pretty darn close.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the area of essential worker is a little more vast on this one.
Our range is open,
Wow.
so that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
I
It
was,
is?
I was wondering about that.
Outside,
The range is open?
outside,
Oh.
outside only. Just
Yeah,
warm.
so
How does that go for
outdoor shooting in
matches?
Ontario is still cool. Indoor shooting in Ontario is no bueno.
Yeah.
Better
So
than the
I
last
guess
one.
that's pretty bad for range 519, I guess, because they were going to try and open soon.
Yeah.
This will
The
push
select
them
shooter
back
supplies
even
guys
further.
are going to
Yeah.
get pushed out again, which unfortunate.
Yeah, that's
And
really unfortunate because
indoor-only
that's an
clubs.
amazing range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean and his team have done a great job there. So it looks like indoor shooting is postponed. So it's really good that it's like January and very comfortable to shoot outside.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Indoor activities are verboten. That's, I think, what
And-
they said.
Yeah. Onward. Enough. Rona.
Oh,
I've had enough of the Rona. I don't.
yeah. I am up to here with the
Yeah.
Ronas. That's.
I don't want to hear about it anymore.
I wish everyone else was as fed up with the Ronas as I am.
No, it seems
just
like
saying,
people
we
can't
need
get
to-
enough of it.
Take up skating and open a speakeasy and maybe tell some cops to shove it. I don't know. We
What
work that
about
out.
an indoor skating rink / gun range / bar?
Yeah, how about a skate up bar?
There should be bowling as well. There should be bowling as well upstairs.
Fine indoor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. Where do we buy a hockey rink and how do we put a gun range in it?
Well, in Toronto, I think you just go.
Do you suppose they still have the hockey rink they used on Parliament last winter? Do we get like a discount on it because it's used?
I wonder what the.
I mean,
recoil
it's
would
just
be like.
water. We just buy lots of water and freeze it. That's all it really is to it. You got to make the building cold.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Outside
got to be
in
more
Canada, it's
complicated than
cold.
that if it costs $14 million to build one, Dave. It can't just be
Guys.
you literally freeze water
Guys, don't
outside.
you think that Canada has some kind of?
That's because you
special
got to put the
ops team?
liberal like line the
that does on
pockets
skates?
tax on it, which is like $13,999,999, and then
Yeah.
$1 for the water.
And it all goes to companies like S&C Laughlin.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all management fees, right?
Exactly. They
And
had
then
to
you need a
design
skating
it.
license.
They had to design it, and then they had to have surveyors and stuff. Make sure
I want to know if
we
they
could
did
fit
a
we
gender
could fit a
balance
hockey rink
study.
there. Yeah, exactly. And then can we fit enough ratio of guys to girls on this hockey rink? I think so.
And what about all the
That's
others?
$1 million.
Yeah. I hope. The
Oh God,
crew
got to
that-
do it all over again.
Yeah, the crew that laid the water. I hope they were gender balanced and ethnicity balanced and every other type of balanced. Otherwise,
Hopefully their water was balanced.
That rink is bigoted.
Yes. Skating on white ice.
Oh. Well, that's other topic tonight. Aside from the Rona, who tonight? A while ago, we talked about rocking and fitness stuff. We're going to talk about team building a little bit tonight. So what I want Gavin to do is close his eyes and fall backwards while I catch him.
All right. This isn't going to work very well because you're not physically here, but I trust you, Andrew.
Yeah, not that kind of team building.
It's the new normal.
Not that
Not
kind
new
of team
normal.
building. Although that would be a lot funnier to do that kind of team building over Zoom calls.
Yeah.
Doing
Just
those
fall.
thrust exercises.
Smash. Yeah. That did not work at all. I am so sorry.
So I'm gonna. I think we ought to start with a model of what a functional team might look like, or if you're listening to this show, what a dysfunctional team might look like. Although this is maybe not the model to use. So I went and I pulled some stuff out of some old field manuals I had kicking about, and pulled out the breakdown for a special United States Army Special Forces Operational Detachment Alpha. Somebody cue the music. Get Mr. T. Time to talk about the A-team.
Love it when a plan comes together.
Shut up, fool, before I weigh you like my chain.
Yeah, I'm pulling U.S. manuals for this.
Round, baby, right round. Sorry, I've only seen the remake.
Oh yeah, that part. That guy's really funny. Actually,
We need to get you up to speed, Benny.
this is a free Scotland.
We got to work on that.
Yeah.
Everybody, Mini 14s for all.
Yeah.
We're going to need 12 Mini 14s and a van.
Nice.
A Vandura, I think, isn't it?
I think
What?
so.
Any white paneled van, and then we'll just paint it up, right? Does it make a difference what it
No,
actually?
it just
you're not
needs-
wrong.
I mean-
Get rims, tires, paint it black, red racing stripe, good to go. And I'll put an
Spoiler.
exhaust on it. Yeah, and a spoiler, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Naturally.
I'm pretty sure it was a GMC Vandura, but that's.
I
beside
think
the
it
point.
was. I agree. I believe
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
too.
black on red, wasn't it? The original.
Yeah, it was like, well, it was just like red lightning bolts or something like that
Yeah.
at the side.
It
I
was
feel like
dope.
we're off slightly. Okay. So I pulled some stuff out, some US field manuals I had kicking around. Breakdown for how they do their Special Forces ODAs, just because it's easy to reference, because it's all over the internet and it's probably been in every TV show you've ever seen. And if you don't like that, you can go and watch Dennis Haysbert on the Unit, because that's based on Delta Force and ODAs, and it's all sort of applicable to Hollywood stuff. So lots of media examples of A teams.
Don't get too emotionally attached because they finished that early.
Yeah.
The Unit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever. Max Martini's my hero. That's all I have to say on that topic.
That is a brilliant name, though. Like,
Anyway, 12 dudes. That's the way that they break down the Special Forces teams in the state, which we've talked about this in some of the book clubs and things. That seems to be like a reasonable number of people to me. So I like where this.
Say it again.
Hit some roles and responsibilities, go through, get people's input.
Mhm.
Somebody's got to be the leader. The A-team model, they call that the Detachment Commander. There's an officer, a captain, who's overall responsible for operational planning and outfitting and organizing missions and securing objectives, and is in charge of things, in a broad sense.
Sometimes a bit of a babysitter.
well, I mean, ideally, you've got somebody that's got the experience and everything else and the knowledge and all of that that can lead, but ideally everybody in the team should be able to lead when appropriate to do so, using a bit of the Jocko method. But like, the actual leader is the person that needs to be looking up and out, not down and in, right? Everyone else is going to be doing their particular job because that job needs to get done. But the leader needs to be able to step back and have a team that knows what to do when they need to do it, so that they can see the big picture stuff.
Who's the guy that holds the little wand at the orchestra?
The conductor.
The conductor, if you will.
Yeah,
He was
he's
the guy
making
that
all the
held on to
cogs
whistle
working
on the train.
yeah.
Yeah.
He makes all the cogs
thing.
work together.
That's his
in
day
unison
job.
to do to make that machine do its thing. That machine is either fighting
Yeah,
a battle
'cause-
or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of the Romans that pioneered that whole thing of having a commander that was sort of there, but not necessarily involved in the fight, and was sort of set back and watching everything unfold so that they could dictate where people needed to be and what happened and stuff like that. Because they had, that stepping back and seeing everything rather than having, your nose to the grindstone and just being like this and having like a 1 foot view instead of 100-foot view
Yeah, getting
makes a big difference.
Target fixation, looking down a
Yeah.
scope, kind of a problem.
Yeah.
I agree. It definitely that, but it also needs a bit of mixture of both, because it has to be somebody that is in touch with the people that are actually
Absolutely.
the tip of the spear. But you still have to keep it from afar, the same way you were describing, Gav.
Yeah, they need to know how to do the things so that they can make sure that the people are doing the things and step in when needed to fill a role that's not being filled. But then hopefully someone else on the team sees that and goes, hey, I got this now. You go back to being a leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we
That's
have
it.
our assistant detachment commander. This is going to be a senior non-commissioned officer in military terms. What the Americans call a warrant officer. We don't really. Our warrant officers are the same but different. So our Canadian listeners are going to be slightly confused about how warrant officers work because they are a person that has been in for quite a long time and doesn't hold a commission, but works in an administrative fashion because they're an expert in their field. So in an ODA, your assistant detachment commander is responsible for all your admin and logistics planning and is there to take over command in the absence of the commander or in the event that the team gets divided into subunits. Somebody to help run the show, but more of the inward looking bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your field manager, if you will.
Yeah, your shop foreman, the guy that's making sure everybody's doing their work and has everything they need to get done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're hopefully the one that catches the thing before the person in charge does, so that the person in charge can do what they do best, lead.
Well, for sure. And you don't want your leader, if you're in that position, you don't want your leader catching that mistake because then it makes you look bad if you're in that position. So you got to nip that kind of shit in the bud and be good at being down there with the troops, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, in a business sense, this is how I like to lead my company. I don't like to micromanage people. I like to lead by exception and manage by exception, so that like when weird things pop up that don't normally happen, I'll address them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I trust that the people below me, and obviously you need to sometimes like verify things because that's part of being a leader.
Yeah.
But you got to let them do their job and trust that they're going to do their job appropriately. And every now and again, you kind of check in and make sure that everyone is doing that. And then everything kind of keeps moving along. But if you kind of get too focused on it, and that's why you got to have other people in your team that are capable of leading, and having that, designated second in command certainly helps with that.
Well, for sure. I'm actually a foreman in my company, and there's guys on my crew that I trust that know what my job's supposed to be. So if I'm like stepped away from a situation, they will actually come to me and be like, "Hey, Brian, this is happening over here," or whatever the case may be. So when something like that happens in my position, it makes me feel good that I've actually trained my employees well.
All right, moving down the list here, we've got ops sergeant. Your operations sergeant is responsible for overall organization and functionality and training of your team and ensuring that they're outfitted correctly and in support of whatever their mission is. This is your typically like your senior non-commissioned officer. The way the U.S. military lays it out, somebody to be the equivalent of a master sergeant. This is where things get confusing because Americans seem to have way more ranks than we have. Sergeants for days.
They
It's
got a
like 20
massive
sergeant
army,
ranks.
right?
It's ridiculous.
Is that because of the size of their army though? It's like,
No, I think it's just a slightly different structure with how they, because like their warrant officers is a whole different track from ours. Because their warrant officers are effectively officers, whereas ours are just non-commissioned members. Different role.
Just,
so this is somebody who's responsible for the top level of like the inside the team planning, functionality training, making sure everybody's effective. A little bit different from somebody that's looking after all the administrative and logistics. This is more looking after the people on the team, making sure that they're trained and effective. Rather than making sure they've got the right tools, it's making sure they know how to use the tools.
yeah. But yeah, you split those two things so that like no one has too much responsibility and they can focus on the task that they need to do.
And then our last of the special organizational people, assistant operations and intelligence sergeant. This is usually somebody that's like a sergeant first class, again, like a senior NCO. This is the person that's responsible for making sure the team has all the equipment and supplies they need and is responsible for gathering and analyzing all of their mission critical intelligence. Again, like more of that division of who's responsible for what and making sure people have the right tools to do their job and making sure in this case they have the right information to do their job. Then we get into all the redundant positions, of which There are 4. Weapons, comms, medical, and engineering. And we can go through each of those and break them down, but there's 2 each of those in the 12-man team. The whole idea here is for redundancy. You have 2 of them. So if something happens to one of them, you have a replacement. But also if you divide your team in 2 so you can have a fire and maneuver element, you don't have the 2 guys that both knew how to blow things up go off at the same time.
Yeah. Shit. All the C4 went that way.
Yes.
Right? Like, oh, all the medics went over there. Well, that seems bad. Oh,
Yeah.
all the comms people walked away. That seems
this perforated guy over here is screwed now.
Yeah.
These roles are, I think, reasonably self-explanatory with the breakdown. Weapons sergeants, they're responsible for knowing how all of the guns work. Everything from pistols to tanks.
Yeah.
They're also responsible for training of team members and indigenous forces. Making sure everybody knows how to use all their various assorted firearms and weapon systems. Comm sergeants, obviously, responsible for communication. Another one of those ones in the title. Straightforward. Somebody who's an expert with radios and crypto systems and IT systems and all of that stuff. They're very widely trained.
Yeah, they're the ones that will make the communication, so make the call, but also know how to maintain and repair and set up all of that stuff.
For sure. Engineering sergeants. This is the cool guy stuff. Arnold in the movie yelling for breacher up, and somebody comes and blows a door. But also responsible for all the building and civil as well as military type construction. So whether it's fortifications or whether it's like digging wells.
Or removing snow, as the case in Quebec.
Or, well, I mean, maybe. And then the role that I've been the most interested in of late is the medical stuff, because this is an area where I'm finding that I'm lacking is on my own medical.
I mean, you're not a doctor, so.
Well, I'm not, but I'm also like, every time I take a course, I'm like, I really should learn more about how that works. I should learn. So the medical sergeants.
People spend 10 years trying to learn it, and they still don't know everything, right? So,
well,
having a basic understanding is better than probably 99% of the population, most likely.
I mean, if you go and take your standard first aid, you've done a lot more than the vast majority of the population has. Yes, and then every step up from that, you get.
You're getting
better
even higher into that
understanding,
percentile.
But this is the thing that, like, this is handy in everyday life, and knowing more is always a good thing.
For sure. Especially in more, I mean, car accidents could happen and stuff too, but like me and Brian were more in physical type trades where there tend to be more accidents just by nature of
absolutely.
The beast, and so knowing this stuff is definitely never a bad thing.
Basic first aid, and we always have to have first aid kit on, like, in the crew.
Yeah, on site.
Right? So,
yep.
But I'm sure, Gavin, like, you probably have the most experience in this field, I'm assuming.
I'd say Andrew and I are probably on par. We've both taken the same level of training.
Oh, really? Sorry, Andrew, I didn't know you were also a medic.
Well,
I don't know if we
wouldn't go
that,
so far as to say I'm a medic, but I mean, like, I understand how to use a tourniquet, and I can explain to somebody else how to do it.
Well, if we were ever together and one of us got hurt, I'd be like, Corbin, and I'd expect you to get up here.
Yeah, but I'm not a corpsman, so
we both know how to finger bang gauze into a bullet hole. That's
I saw your video on Ragnarok.
That's right. I will definitely let Gavin stick a nasopharyngeal airway up my nose.
There you go.
Not fun.
Just spit on it first. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
So obviously the special forces guys, they're not just doing their Red Cross first aid. They're much more qualified than that. A lot of these guys are more like paramedics level medical technicians.
Yeah, and I mean, when building a team, it's okay to have somebody that is maybe filling 2 roles. It's not ideal, but you can do that. But once you start getting into like 3 or 4 roles, then it really starts to fall apart because they can't focus on the thing that needs to get done.
Exactly. And I think that's a big takeaway. So I'm not saying go out and like find 11 other guys and one of you gets to be an officer and one of you gets to be a medic and one of like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying look at this as a template of the roles that need to be filled in a small unit type of team.
Yeah.
Right.
And then who
whether
knows
it's
what?
4 guys or whether it's 10 guys, I mean, 12 seems pretty freaking ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 is like somewhere between 10 to 15 is where you should aim for, but 12 is a really nice number because that splits up really well in vehicles. And like you can split it in half, you can split it in 3, you can split it in 4. Like it divides nicely for a lot of different things.
Well, it divides nicely. You get to have so the Canadian method with 2-man fire teams. I think the Americans use
They
they
use
have like a
4-man
battle
teams,
buddy,
don't they?
and they use like a squad. So it's 4 of them to a group.
Yeah,
So
it's
they
usually
end up
4
like,
and then 8 and then 16, depending on
so
what
like
they're doing.
they have a slightly different makeup of how they do their stuff than how I learned stuff. But I mean, the idea is more or less the same. Like, okay, so you've got your battle buddy, or you've got your fire team partner, and then you've got like your next fire and maneuver element up to that, like through the section and platoon level. Like a platoon of guys, 15 guys is kind of like a convenient number to work with.
Yeah.
12 happens to work out really nicely for vehicles and for being able to build fire and maneuver elements. And I mean, it doesn't have to be like, I'm not talking about like CQB tactics, like, you know, you have somebody stand in the trench and you have like an actual fire and maneuver element. But if you have like somebody that has to hold security at a fixed location, if you need a group of people to stand around, another group of people to go and do something, you effectively have fire and a maneuver element.
Yeah.
Right? So it's convenient
Yeah.
to break it down into 2 groups of 6 or into 3 groups of 4. Or
Yeah,
it
it
breaks
just
down nicely
splits
for
up in a bunch
vehicles.
of ways really well. And like we talked about when we were doing the Way of Men, like that once you start getting more than that, like how well do you really know these people? How well do you really trust these people? And how well can you as a leader lead more people than that? Like it starts to kind of get cumbersome when you have one person in command of 20, 30, 40, 50 people. It just gets ridiculous. That's too many elements to keep track of.
Yeah, you can't possibly know all those people on a personal level.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's the thing is like, what you're effective up to maybe 15 people as a small unit leader.
Yeah.
And then you have to
After that,
rely on other leaders to
it's too unwieldy, right?
decentralize.
Like that's why they do that. And then like the guy above that will have 15 sections under him and they have all their individuals and everyone's sort of in charge of 15 people because that's all they can keep track of. Especially under stress, because under stress, like everything goes crazy.
Well, and I think that's the thing to think about with this. And again, like I'm not saying this is not the end of the world. This is not go and play army, but this is like if you need a group of reliable people that you can get along with and work with for some common cause, how do you go about doing that? And how do you get those people squared away to do whatever that mission is, whatever that common goal is? How do you
acquiring
arrange
toilet paper in lockdown 3.0 because it's become super coveted.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? And then I think there's a bunch of other stuff from the ODA mentality that we can apply to other small teams, small unit elements, like the whole cross training of expert ideas. Because like everybody in a special forces ODA is a sergeant or better, so they've been in the military for a while. They got some skills, and they've all specialized in something. Usually coming in one of those 4 specialties: weapons, comms, medical, or engineering. Right. So if you have some people with some different backgrounds and you can draw on each other's strengths, you can cover and move more effectively. And I don't mean like cover and move in like team of maneuver. I mean like if you know how to work on cars and your buddy knows how to work on computers, those are both things that are probably advantageous for your group to be able to do because you probably rely on computers in some way and you probably rely on cars in some way, right? So having all of those different skills that are complementary, having a whole room full of mechanics, really great if you want to fix a lot of cars. Really awful to do pretty much anything else.
Hey, I'm good at other stuff.
Diversity is what you're saying, Andrew. Diversity.
Well, I would not go so far as to say that diversity is our strength, but
diversity of skill and experience is our strength.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Well, but that's what I mean. Like if you go into David's shop and like if I go and get like 15 mechanics from your like queue of service mechanics, am I going to be able to get like a house built Probably not.
Probably would actually.
Would.
A lot of them are actually
Trades. You actually might. That's maybe a
Okay,
bad
okay.
example.
Yeah.
If
Let's
all
say,
of the
if you want
mechanics
us to
in
go
Dave
just
shop,
write some
Figure it out.
software for you, that probably
No.
wouldn't happen.
Right.
or yeah,
There
like
we
if
go.
all of the
That's better.
mechanics in Dave's shop went into Benny's work and we're trying to make cheese, it probably
Actually-
wouldn't be edible.
The machines will work really nicely though.
Yeah, the machines will be in tip
Oh,
top
yeah,
shape,
they've
running
been-
They've
great.
worked in years, buddy.
The recipe is all off though.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is I think that there is the opportunity there to have that coverage between different skills. So you're not trying to get
Yeah.
15 people, 12 people that all have the same background and experience, do all the same things. You want that. I'm going to say diversity against my better judgment. I'm going to say diversity.
We won't hold it against you
Rely
this
on one
time.
another.
Yeah.
But you can rely on one another. And the other
It's
advantage with that
it's
is with the
okay.
different backgrounds that you get the ability to cross train.
Yeah,
That
and
too.
I mean, you've already got hopefully a redundant system, but multiple redundancies is even better. Right?
Right. So like if everybody knows how to change the oil in their car, great. But like, okay, so what's something more involved than that? Well, now you get your Dave
Yeah.
or your mechanic guy, the guy who does this professionally
Yeah,
or knows a
your
lot
Dave,
about it through a hobby or whatever. Yeah, your Dave.
Not ours.
And you ask
he's
him.
ours. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I got a snowblower, and then I Huckleberry Finn, Dave, and Gavin into fixing it because they have the parts and the know-how.
And then you just feed me pizza, and then we're even.
Right. But that's what I mean. Like you've got to
Or
have
pumpkin pie, definitely pumpkin pie.
No, I definitely fed Dave pizza. But now I know how to replace those parts on the snowblower that need to be replaced because like Dave didn't just do the work, he showed me how to do it.
Yeah.
That too.
Right. So I think there's an element there of cross training from somebody in a position of expertise that you can get more people trained up on. Because I'm probably not going to know how to fix all the things in the snowblower, but I got a way better idea now than I did before.
Yeah, you know how to fix your recoil starter now.
I
Literally slap it on. And
Yeah,
pull-
well.
yeah. But yeah, having
more than I
never
knew
done
before
it.
we started.
Exactly. And
But I
now
think that
next
redundant
time,
positions piece is also.
You
gonna
also
be
learned what a
important if
spark
we
plug
had-
socket looks like.
I did. Turns out I have one.
Mhm. And with most sets, people don't realize.
yeah, especially if you buy a chainsaw, it always comes with one.
Mm.
And you get it in like a weird little like T handle thing. So like the plug round
You
is
can't-
on the
yeah, you can't
handle, and then
possibly
the
lose it from the
screwdriver is there.
wrench.
It also makes a really great stabby tool, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about this kind of team structure that you guys want to touch on?
Well, I mean,
'Cause I
there-
feel like this is kind of the
Yeah,
this is like the
there's
gold standard
others,
of
but
small
like
unit
it's
tactic.
Everybody
Yeah.
needs to play their part for the team to work properly. I think that's the biggest thing too. Is
yeah.
the team will always struggle when any one of those pieces is missing. So everybody's
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to reach out and like ask questions. Like Andrew,
Yes.
Gavin, all these guys are probably sick of all the questions I'm always asking them, but like
No. It's all part of it.
it's
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah.
So
Well, and part of that comes up as like Benny asked me a question. I'm like, I don't have a good answer for that. I should learn more about this topic.
Yeah, and I mean, to steal a line from, Jocko, there's no such thing as a bad team, just bad leaders, and like it's always the leader's responsibility. So if the team fails, it's because the leader either didn't explain it properly or did something. So you need the people on the team to own up to their end of it as well and be responsible. And if they don't understand something, they need to ask the questions, and the leader then needs to be able to explain it to them or find a way to explain it to them so that they understand.
Mhm.
Because if you don't do that, then you can't function as a team effectively.
Mhm. Agreed.
Yeah, I really think that the U.S. Army Special Forces ODA is like the gold standard for small unit team structure. This is like
Yeah,
the right
there's
way to
some-
do it.
some
Gonna say there's a
small
reason-
variations
why they
here
do
and
it
there,
that
but
way.
like this one, I think is like this has been refined to its
Mm.
almost perfection, right? Like
Especially when we get to talking about like actual fire and maneuver or guerrilla warfare or some of the other more
Yeah.
partisan topics
Yeah.
in the future. Like, yeah, this is applicable to like getting stuff done around your house and chores with people you know and esprit
Team
de corps,
building
camaraderie
and
for
stuff like that.
fitness, and like, yeah, and you could,
Organizing
like,
a charity shoot or all kinds of things.
like artisan preparedness part of this, having that division of labor and those various complementary skill sets, having people that know how to organize internally and externally to get this group working and working with and against other group. This seems like the right way to do it. And it doesn't seem terribly dissimilar to how the IRA operated once upon a time in Ireland and to a lesser degree in Britain. Sorry, Mrs. Thatcher.
Yeah. Just with less balaclavas.
Well, less balaclavas, but like that small unit cell, like independent, isolated cells working towards a common goal. In some cases, the IRA blowing up British politicians, not successfully for the most part, but
well, and I mean, even the Rhodesians kind of had a similar thing where they had small groups that would kind of drop into an area, do their thing, and then get the hell out of there.
Yeah, well, I mean, both the Rhodey SAS and the Fire Force teams being based on the number of people you can put on a helicopter, but it's the same kind of idea and the same type of division of labor, people with different skills working in concert to achieve some kind of a common mission.
Yeah.
Probably look up the whole Fire Force thing at some point in the future. The tactics, techniques, and procedures there. Not that we have helicopters, but just highly applicable to
I may or may
warfare.
not have a field manual we can go over.
Yeah, well, just like tactics, techniques, and procedures around counterinsurgency is one of those things. Again, like partisan prepping, that may become a relevant skill set.
Yes.
Yeah. Oddly enough, the first third of the Rhodesian field manual is all about short shorts.
How to wear them with authority.
Yeah. And how to tuck your giant balls into so they don't fall out.
That's what hammocks are for.
What to do in a firefight with your balls.
Tuck them.
Yeah. It's weird because it's balls out, but you also tuck them back at the same time. It's very confusing.
Super weird. We're just going to move forward. Ian's not here. I was going to ask Ian to talk about more of a preppery topic with mutual assistance groups.
Yeah, we're the Canadian Prepper podcast now.
Yeah, I don't do mutual assistance groups. I don't do the typical prepper thing. So we'll wait till Ian's back on, I guess, to cover that part, unless any of you have particular experience.
It's kind of what the team's. It's kind of what the team's for, really.
Yeah, it's us versus them, and them is the other guys, and we don't need to partner.
If you're at a 308, I got some kind of thing.
All right. But
it's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, I'd like to understand a little bit more about how the prepper mutual assistance groups work. That's not my cup of tea. I don't participate in that.
The more I would look at it, I mean, you can't, especially when it comes to like cultivating food and stuff like that, you can't focus on everything. It would be easier if you just planted just wheat, for instance, while the other guy down the road works on growing apples, for instance, and that way you can then.
Yeah, but to me, that kind of falls under the team, though, right?
Yeah, like, it's still the team. Yeah.
What is a mag but a team with another name? You're still if you talk to
I think
preppers,
it is still a team. I just don't know that a mag is necessarily set up the same way as like.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the team more as like small unit tactics type team rather than like. I need gas for my generator, and I need chickens for my chicken coop. Or I don't I don't know how preppers work.
Yeah, I see each of those like groups as their own team, right? Because they're obviously looking out for themselves, and you may have some sort of agreement to mutually aid one another, but like they obviously have their needs and you have yours, and at some point those needs may not be copacetic.
Well, you got the door kicking in, ass kicking team, and then you got the survival, food prepping team, I guess, which could be, I guess, separate teams technically.
To me, those are all that, like, you're a team. You do all the things together, or you don't, and like that's why, like, yeah, there's definitely a difference between like, oh, this is the TAC team, but like, if you are a team of individuals, and this is hypothetically in some sort of dystopian Minecraft future, you kind of need to know all of those things, right? Like, and so yeah, the team might need to get a little bit bigger, but like your comms guy might also be your like Johnny Appleseed that grows the apples, right?
Yeah.
Or possibly
and-
maybe like there's a bunch of teams that kind of know each other, and when they need a team
Well,
with
and
certain skill sets, they'll call upon them, and then
Mm.
you can trade with another team with certain skill sets, and that's how you guys will kind of coexist.
Yeah,
Like
and that's kind of how I see that mutual assistance is you have groups of people that have a relatively common goal that will aid one another when it is beneficial to both of them. But
Yeah.
One, let's
they're
be
still
clear
separate.
about that. I'm not suggesting that you're going to build a team of people that are going to like go kick down doors and do cool guy tactical stuff all the time. That's not the
Yes, that's not by any means is not what we're
Yeah.
endorsing.
Dream.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
it's the goal, but
but I think you're
Self-defense
more
team.
likely like,
yeah.
well, and I
You
think
know,
you're still going to outside of your. I'm looking at this more of the small unit tactics type, how to build that team. But yeah, you're probably going to have those other mutually beneficial relationships, the mags or some other group or some wider supporting group, and you're not going to be. I forget what the movie that Thor was in, where he was like the special forces guy, and they were like riding across Afghanistan on horses.
12
Oh.
strong.
Extract,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. No. Extraction
Whichever.
was about getting the little Indian boy out of India.
And it's like you're not going to be like riding across the country on a horse with like 11 other dudes and overthrowing the local warlord.
Oh.
Yeah. Aw.
But like,
Yeah, because
somebody's
we
probably
are
gonna
going to
kick
be
in
the
doors
local
at some
warlord.
Well, that's what I was hoping for.
We're going to be the warlord. That's
right.
what you're getting
Like
at.
not
Yeah.
everybody is doing that job. That doesn't mean you shouldn't
Yeah.
have people that you can get along with and train with and learn skills from and do all of these other
Yeah.
other things.
Absolutely,
Just
yeah. Your
probably
group
not
needs to
kicking in
associate
doors.
with other groups and build a greater community and a
Well, and that's
larger.
the greater community thing, I think, is an important aspect of that, because your group, 12 people or 12 men, are not going to live in isolation in a woods with an SKS and like overthrow the government. You
No.
just don't have the resources to do it. Somebody's got to clothe you and feed you, and you need the support of the local populace. And we should probably get into a whole thing on how to do guerrilla warfare and insurgencies.
Yeah, like someone's going to need to roll in with like a necklace of ears and crates of 7.62 ammo and drop it off and be like,
Not it.
yeah, yeah, comrade, do yeets, and here you go, and drop off crates of ammo, right? Like someone needs to be that guy. But they need to know other groups to be doing that as well for them.
Well, and I don't know that those groups are necessarily going to, you're not going to have
Yeah.
like, you're not going to have like 12 man teams with like 124 dudes
No.
kicking in doors.
No, exactly.
They
But I
probably
mean
find out.
that disconnected network of cells works for other groups. Like we've said, the IRA were very successful at that. I mean, I don't like to mention it, but like, ISIS and those guys have been successful in what they've done with tactics like that and everything else. So I mean,
Oh,
I forget the
proving to work.
Wolverines.
Wolverines.
But yeah,
Uh,
building a team to do all of the things is important.
Yeah, I guess part of that building the team, figuring out how to work with other people and how to find people to work with, the personalities and conflicting personalities and dealing with those conflicts and structuring your team in a way, not just in the technical skills aspect of things, not just having like a guy that knows medical and a guy that knows radios and a guy that knows guns, but also like all of those people are going to have different personalities.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with those personalities in conflict, or how do you deal with them being complementary to one another?
Yeah, because you could be the greatest mechanic in the world, but if you're like an absolute cunt, that's really not going to work so good.
Hey, you trying to say something?
I mean,
he means cunt in a good way, like in England.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Cheerio, you fucking cunt.
But like, if the 10mm socket fits,
Wait, you still have a 10mm socket?
I have many backups.
God, no, those things go missing instantly.
I have replaced so many 10mm sockets. Anyway, personality types. So I would recommend looking at the Myers-Briggs personality types, the 16 personality types test. So the theory is that there's basically 16 personality types. There's basically 4 kinds of people. So the way that it masks out, there's 4 different factors in a personality, of which it's a scale. Like it's sort of an either or proposition. So you're either an introvert or an extrovert. You either figure things out by intuition or by sensing. You either make decisions by feeling or thinking. You interact with the world around you by either perceiving or judging. And depending on how that breaks down, you end up with one of 16 personality types. There's different, not necessarily pros and cons, but they fit together in different ways. And the idea being that, like, in broad strokes, because of course everybody's a little bit different and people are going to tell me they don't fit in the boxes, but in a broad way, you fit into one of these 16 different categories. And some of them get along better with others than others. Some of them get along well with other people that are like them, and some of them get along better with people that are very different from them. Some people don't get along with people that are like them at all, and some people don't get along with people that are not like them at all. Or they can be very difficult to get along with because you have you're like what's called a personality conflict, right? Because you have two similar personalities and you don't get along as a result of those things. It's not necessarily the guy's just an asshole, although that can be a thing.
Okay.
There's 4 broad categories that the personality types fall into, and then within the 4 broad categories, there's the 4 personalities in that category. The 4 broad categories break down into what they call analysts, diplomats, sentinels, and explorers. And if you go on your social media after you find your pronoun, this is where you put your 4-letter acronym that describes your personality type. So I'm a he, him, either int J or ISTJ. Other people have their personality thing. It's a joke. Social media. I'm not on social media anymore. Come on. You guys have not seen that where people are putting their pronouns on their social media?
No, because none of my friends would do that.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it.
Ryan just lives in an echo chamber.
Yeah,
must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a button called filter. Check it out.
I don't know. I thought that filter was when you just post anything positive about Trump and everyone just like self-deletes.
Self-selects, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Weird.
Yeah, no, sorry. I've heard of it, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know people were doing that, but it doesn't shock me, I guess. Whatever.
Oh, that's fair. So depending on where you fit in the personality types, run down the list quick here, I think. Analysts, those are people that use their imagination to figure things out. They are rational, or they tend to be rational. They tend to work in technical fields.
No.
They can be socially difficult because they're worried about the logic of a situation rather than about the impact on others.
I assume this is where you fell under. Not to like go back to. Assume you're an analyst.
Yes. Well, sort of. Yes.
I mean, in your personality test thing that you did.
In my personality, I fall into a weird. I fall into a weird split. I have an equal amount of sensing and intuition, which is not usual. So I am either ISTJ or INTJ. So an introverted person who is not sure about the next category, who works based on thinking and judging.
Yeah,
so I have a lot of strong personality into the analyst position.
Yeah, if I recall correctly from when I did this forever ago, I was an int as well.
Is that how you?
Yeah.
A what?
Or INTJ.
Oh.
You also have your diplomat group. So those are people that are, well, it's what it sounds like, diplomatic. They're warm, tactful, empathetic people. they're very supportive of others, and they like to use their imagination to collaborate and work on positive group participation. But when they're forced to make a decision, they often tend towards being very rational. There can be an issue with this due to their sympathy to all of the people because of how empathetic they can be. So while they may know what the rational decision is, they may not want to do it for fear of like upsetting somebody in the group.
Yeah, they're worried about the feels, bro.
Well, and somebody's got to worry about the feels, right? But
Yeah.
the advantage to this is diplomatic people in leadership roles tend to be able to inspire the people that they're working with. Right? I think did I mentioned for analysts their thing, if an analyst ends up in a leadership role, they tend to be systems and process people. They improve things that they work on and they build processes around those things. I feel like I skipped over that.
They'd be their
Yeah.
logistics officer.
Probably a solid choice for somebody like an analyst.
Yeah.
Working in logistics or communications or something like that, where it's very black and white, very rational.
Operations.
Well, and very process driven, right? That's the
Mhm.
where a diplomat is more that your team leader, the person that can work with those outside groups, the person who can still make rational decisions, but is worried about promoting internal and external group cohesion and building alliances, and
They take the feels into account, but aren't driven by them.
your Sentinels group. Those are generally hardworking, precise, conventional people. These are traditionalists or conservatives in a broad way. These people tend to fall into logistics or administrative type roles because they are good at following process. They're not good at changing process, but they're good at following process. So Sentinels, oftentimes you'll find people like this personality type in military or law enforcement. They're very very driven to protect and serve. They're very driven about following and enforcing rules, but they're also very conservative in honoring traditions and past successes. You'll find a lot of people in like law enforcement or the military have that type of personality where they fall into one of the Sentinel personalities. And the last one in the broad groups, the explorers. So these are, the book says that they're so some of the psychology books, some of the Myers-Briggs psychology stuff says that these people tend to be entrepreneurs, and I don't actually know many entrepreneurs that fit into this category.
Yeah.
These are people who master tools and techniques and tend to be pragmatic and spontaneous. They're quick to adapt to situations, but they're also inclined to taking large risks. So I don't know that I've actually like met a lot of entrepreneurs that fit all of the tools and techniques part of that. Yeah, okay, they'll take on risks and they're quick to make decisions and they'll pivot quickly on problems, but I don't know that I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs that have achieved mastery in their field.
As I say, Masters of Tools and Techniques seems more of a Sentinel thing to me. I mean, it placed me under Sentinels, but mastering tools and techniques kind of what I do.
Yeah, I would. I could see that. So Dave did his. Dave ends up in the Defender category, the ISFJ. And it was like solid in that category then.
It was under that, and then it shows underneath as well that basically it's this part of the Sentinel over group, I guess. But yeah, just that
broad category.
Yeah, most of it seems pretty accurate.
I think, Gavin, you said you fall into the INTJ the same as I do?
I believe so, if I recall correctly. It's been a while.
I could see that. Did Brian or Benny, did you guys do these? No? Didn't do the
No,
homework?
I haven't done it.
I didn't do it.
Okay,
sorry.
well, don't be sorry. I would recommend doing it because the 16 personalities website actually gives you a pretty good breakdown of like this is how you
strengths
answer
and
the
weaknesses.
thing. This is your, and also how to deal with other people based on your personality and theirs.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty in depth.
I thought for being a free utility, it is
Yeah.
pretty in depth, and it does actually line up with I've read a couple of Myers-Briggs or books on Myers-Briggs personalities. So I thought
Well,
it was.
I mean,
good
it's
reference.
handy because I mean, it might explain why you do certain things, which then helps you get a better grip on who you are and why you are the way that you are, and how to maybe interact with people in a better, more productive manner, or why
That
you
was
don't work well with other people.
That was the part that I was trying to figure out, was how to work better with people that I have personality conflicts with in my professional life. Because
Yeah.
shockingly, I don't get along with a lot of people.
No. But yeah, trying to get them to work with you, or at least complete the tasks that you wish for them to complete, if they're, say, working under you, kind of thing, without butting heads, and you want them to do a good job, because if you're butting heads with them, generally they're only going to do as good as the job as they need to, for you to not bitch at them. But it could be better. So learning how to deal with that in a better way can definitely be advantageous.
And just because you end up in a particular category that says you're prone to this doesn't mean that you can't do the opposite of it. It just means that that's maybe not natural for you.
Mm.
Yeah, it might not be your strength, or it might be, you could end up like me, where you have an even split between different categories. I'm not saying that the free 15 question thing that they do on their website is the be all and end all of this. Like, you can go to consultants and companies that do this. So we've had people come in for work that have done this, and we've done the multi-page questionnaire thing that they've then broken you into groups and done the whole multi-day workshop, whatever.
Yeah, I did that just before the Ronas hit. I was in Dallas for part 1 of 4 that I was going to go to throughout the year, and this was one of the first things we did on for morning of day 2, was do these self-assessment tests and figure out what you do and what you're good at.
Some of them get really annoying, and you're just like, oh. But that's kind of usually when you're forced to do it, as opposed to doing it by choice because you can learn about yourself, which you should be doing on a daily basis. See the Patriot Challenge above. But
yes,
I'm not under a truck getting covered in diesel fuel, so I'll gladly go on these stupid courses.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they are. I mean, I kind of fall into the same.
They're actually
boat,
kind of interesting.
Dave, is it they're annoying, but it can be interesting?
Exactly. I take what I can from it, and try and better myself with what information I do learn from it, and try to have a good time while you're there. Whatever. Companies paying for your steak dinners every day.
It's Dallas. No, you do not go get a steak dinner in Dallas. You go to Hard 8 and you get all the barbecue.
Of course, I went to Hard 8. Please. Do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
I went there twice.
Good man.
I went there once on my own, and I also talked the bosses into taking us there.
A very, very short tangent. So for people that have not been into Dallas,
Hard 8
is a barbecue joint where they have smokers outside that you walk through to get into the restaurant.
You
and you buy your meat
food by
the pound.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good time. Strongly recommend.
Oh yeah, 5-star would recommend.
That sounds American. That sounds America to me.
American as fuck.
Well,
America.
it's very Texas, which is probably the best part of America.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's very Texas.
Agreed. I do like going to Texas.
Well,
like people there
most
too.
parts of Texas.
Most.
Certain parts are still kind of like Toronto.
Yeah. We stay away from those parts. But no, there's a lot of good people in Texas. I like it there.
In terms of building your team, I would try to figure out your personality. I've been trying to figure out mine for a long time, for years, and I've been trying to figure out the personality of the people that I work with professionally. I don't get along with a lot of people, shockingly. Trying to figure out how to build that relationship and be able to get the job done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a professional team, your day job, or whether it's your team of guys for the end of the world.
Yeah, and I mean, you should kind of do this, periodically as well, because your personality type can change based on your experiences and your growth as a person and all of that as well. I mean, typically you kind of stay more or less in the same area, but over time things do change.
I think it's one of those things to be aware of, and especially to be aware of how to get the interoperability between different personality types, especially when we're talking about if it's 2 or 3 people and it's a group of close friends, okay, it probably doesn't matter that much. But when you have 12 guys that are put together because circumstances dictate that you're together, you walk into the shop and you're the new guy on the floor, and these are the rest of the guys that are techs that you're working with. Well, you just got to figure it out and make it work, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
right? Like you may not have the luxury of recruiting 11 other people that you want to spend time with. That might just be how your day job is.
Yeah.
So when it's not your day job, if you get to go out and build your team, you get to, I don't know, pick a sports ball reference. If you get to build the Chicago Bulls team that Michael Jordan was on, that was a good sports team, right?
Your dynasty.
Yeah.
You build your dynasty.
And the Raptors are trying to do
So
that right now. They're trying to build their
If you get to
dynasty.
go out and you build
The
your,
Leafs have been trying to do that for the last 25 years.
No longer than that.
It's a building year. It's a building year, I swear.
Since 1967, but
Yeah, we're going on. We're well over 50. You can double that number.
All right, so sports ball analogy is not my forte, and apparently not Gavin's either.
I tried.
Yeah, I know better. I don't even try.
So if you're
So,
gonna
right,
go out,
I'm
you're
the
gonna,
sports guy in the team, right? Just leave the sports things to me.
okay. So
me and
sports
Brian.
things belong to Dave and Brian.
Brian's my redundant.
there you go. I'm your echo chamber, Davey.
Yeah. They suck. Yeah, I fucking know. They fucking suck.
So if you're gonna go out and you're gonna decide to build your own ODA, where are you going to recruit these people?
Places
Gun range.
you would if you well, yeah, you're gonna find
I
them
mean,
in places that
I'm with Brian, obviously. Like that's my gun people are the best people.
Yeah.
You know they got a clean record, so there's
Yeah,
there's your first start.
Right off the hop, you know they're not criminals.
Yeah. So that's like the first. I say that's like first, checkbox for entry into the team. Generally, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to rob a bank, then maybe that might be like the exact opposite. Like, you want that.
Well,
So
I would say
not
that
a gun
if
range.
you were trying to rob a bank, recruiting people to the gun club, they probably have a lack of experience in committing crime.
Yes, but
But
they know the other parts.
they've probably watched enough movies to almost pull it off.
Or no cops, or guards,
or
and
have
maybe you have an
bought-
inside man, and then you
or
it's
have
easy.
bought a firearm based on a certain robbery in a movie. It's like, what gun is that? I want it.
Oh yeah, just a quick.
I mean, that's not always a bad thing. I mean, if it was, like, Beretta would be out of business.
All right.
And I still want a Beretta from watching Die Hard, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
92
And
FS. just 'cause-
Boondock Saints. Like, the safety on or the decock is like the worst thing ever, but like you still want one, especially in like shiny chrome.
Cool.
You
It's
hated that cat.
That is 80s cop right there. Like that.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I'm pretty sure the
Alright.
Lethal Weapon, they have them too.
Yeah, I think Riggs got a Beretta.
Yeah, Briggs has got a Beretta Lethal Weapon. Yeah.
If it was a cop film in the 80s, they had a Beretta. Like that's hands down.
Don't even
Unless
need
it's
to
Dirty
ask.
Harry, then he had a 357.
Yeah. Or 45.
and he
auto
felt
mag.
lucky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He gets
Real lucky.
confused with all that excitement, boys.
Other places to find people that you might want to recruit into your team, or I guess even just like-minded people generally, because like I'm an adult man and I don't know how to make friends anymore because I'm not in university.
Well, gym or sports team, again, you'll know their fitness level is at least at whatever you're at or better.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a hobby that you like to do and other people go and do the same thing at the same place at the same time as you, that's a good one.
Those are your indicators that these
Yeah.
are people that you want to hang out with.
But yeah, like, and especially if you're trying to build your own tactical team, then definitely people that attend shooting competitions or go to the gym and things like
both.
that. Yeah, but I mean, as a team in general, if you visit various religious institutions, people that also visit the same religious institution as you at least have that in common and likely have the same values and morals.
Beliefs, yeah.
So that's a good starting place for some of that stuff. If you're talking like team building as a more general term, like for prepping and having a community, but like a tight knit community. of your like key 15 people plus their family. You know?
Yep, I agree with that.
People
Also a
that
good way
you
of
meet,
finding a wife or
people that you
boyfriend.
meet at the integrity
Girlfriend.
march.
So you're saying I need to go back to church? Is that what you're saying?
If those
You
are your
don't-
values, if they're not your values, then don't go to church.
You don't have to, Dave, but like it certainly it exposes you to people that have it at the at
Yeah, a
least on
belief
a very
system that's
basic
similar-
level. Yeah, the
belief
same
system.
belief system.
Yeah.
Core
Now,
values.
some of the people that
Yeah.
go to these, and it doesn't matter which one it is, some of them go to it because they feel that they have to, and that's not quite the same thing. But like, if you really believe in it, and there are other people that really believe in it there, regardless of which one that you follow, then that's a starting point. They could still be garbage people, but at least it's a starting point where you're like, okay, I know that like this is a thing I'm looking for in building my team, my community. I can like, you know, cross that off the list because I know that these people that are at this place and time have that. Now, personality wise, do I fit? Do they have other traits that I'm looking for in a team? Like, do they have other skills and abilities or knowledge that are beneficial to me and my team?
Well, and this is kind of what we were at before. Is this like a small team, small unit tactics kind of thing? Is this your kick in doors and rob banks? It's the end of the world, or is this find a community and grow some food and be
Maybe
Hutterite?
shoot guns, at targets.
Yeah.
Well, and those are different teams, and that's okay. And I don't think there's this thing saying you need to be
Yeah.
like only part of one team, right? Like you can
Yeah,
play
or it
baseball
could
and play
be
hockey, right? You can do both of those.
Yeah, it could be one larger team that splinters off into like sub teams, if you will, made up of the same people filling different roles. And some people may not particularly be interested in this function, so they don't go on that thing, but they go on the other thing. And just because you lead one team doesn't mean you lead the other team. And that's where a lot of the whole ego thing comes in. And like being an effective leader is also knowing when not to lead and let the person that's a lot better at that particular function lead. Like if you're the best guy at growing corn, you may not be the best guy at leading a tack team. Not saying you aren't, but you might not be.
Yeah.
Chances are high.
You know?
I'm
Whenever
still
you're in
not
a
sure
team
that we've
dynamic, you
really
have to
narrowed down where to
recognize-
find like-minded people. So far we've got the gun range and church and sports.
Well, basically, wherever you're.
I mean, where do you?
base
Where
level-
are you at a for a long time? The only other one is work, right? It's the only other place that you spend a lot of time
I
at.
think that's a commentary on society as a whole. Like we don't build
Enough
build
teams.
lasting relationships in our community because we don't have an integrated community, because you're a random like cog in the consumerist machine. Like you go to work, you go home, and you go to sleep,
Yeah.
and that's how you spend your day,
I mean-
right? So you know the people you
in
work
our,
with, and you know the people you recreate with.
In our group,
Yeah.
that would we're gonna get a pretty small bit of answers because I mean, where else would we want to meet people? But if you ask people outside of our likes,
Yeah, they might tell you yoga class or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
you know,
Well, yeah,
At
but I mean, like
Starbucks.
I mean, you know, if you want to, okay, so the gun range for us is a hobby, a sporting activity kind of a thing. So if you play any sort of organized sports or do some sort of hobby regularly and attend things like that and see these people, like that's a good place for it. So like if you often go to the farmer's market because you like to go and buy things from a farmer's market, or you work at it and you see other people there, you've probably got that in common. So like that's the same kind of a thing. But
Oh,
I
I
think
got one.
like Andrew's comment is more of like a reflection of society where like 50 years ago, you knew your neighbors and you knew them really well.
You knew
Nowadays-
your neighbors, and you were probably a member at like the Moose Lodge and like
Yeah, the 4-H club and all the
Bowling
other
night.
We
stuff.
all went to
Yeah.
church on
But those
Sunday.
are those are all
Yeah, but-
community, all social gatherings. So we are
Yeah.
very individualistic society
Yeah.
now. Where
It's also being
we don't
forced
have
upon us
that,
for
like,
the past year and a half as well.
You know, I
to not be that
know
way.
vaguely like the neighbor that lives above me because I
Have to
see
pay
him
him
all
stuff.
the time. Yeah, I pay him rent because he owns the building. Like, but like the neighbor to my immediate right, I don't think I've ever seen. And the one to my left, like, I know him well enough to like say hello to him and be polite to him. But like going further in any direction or across the street, I have no idea who these people are.
And that's
We
I
live in
think
the city,
that
but
is a
maybe
reflection
we live
on
in the country.
society, right? That's a
Yeah. So it's difficult to find people and build a team when even if you're actively trying to do that, there are a bunch of people that just don't give a shit because they're not looking to do that and they don't care who you are and they don't want to know who you are. They're content in their little bubble and I'm
They will
friends with
die
the friends that
first.
I am and I don't need to make any more friends and that, like, you know, like if
I
you're
like
in
watching Marvel
university,
movies, and I talk to the people that like watching Marvel movies, and that's all I do. And I
Yeah.
collect
Yeah.
all the vinyl
And-
figurines from Marvel.
And you know,
Yeah.
when the grocery stores are empty, they will die first. That's
yeah,
pretty
and
much
I
how it
hope
works.
so.
yeah, and little girls aren't the devil.
Nothing wrong
and I
with the
like Vicky
MCU, but-
Valancourt, and, you know, like all the. It's
Not that there's
Yeah,
anything wrong with you know liking
but
the MCU or
Well,
whatever.
no, but I it's fun to pick on cape shit.
But
Don't worry,
yeah,
don't worry,
yeah.
Dave. You're not going to get canceled.
no, I know. I'm just saying
But-
that it's not that specifically. It's just you
Yeah.
know
but I mean, another
people
place
that don't
like
make an effort to get out in the community and try and better your community
Well,
by getting out there and
it-
making people friends
exactly,
with each other.
and that's why I was just gonna say, like, so one of the places that I've recently found people that like I would call teammates to a certain extent, at least, like, is doing volunteer work. So like my search and rescue volunteer group, like I've found people that have a like mind because we're all volunteering our time to better our community. We all have a certain skill set because we've gone and done this thing that requires some knowledge and skill in different things, and we're all there to better ourselves and get better at those things. So like yeah, like your social community events are the places where you're going to find these things, except that the problem is that like a community event is not just like, oh, it's the local Christmas market, let's go shopping. As much as that, like the community comes together, it's not because nobody's interacting with one another.
Yeah, you're
Going
just there to buy stuff, and then with you
Yeah,
and your
you're there to
couple of
consume.
people, yeah, consume, and then you get the fuck out of there.
You need an actual social event where you get to know people, get to interact with people. They get to meet you, you meet them, and you can talk with one another and see if their value system and yours are compatible and your personality types are compatible. But those things just don't really exist as much anymore because everybody's on the internet. And I mean, here we are, a bunch of assholes on the internet telling you
Get
I
out there,
resemble that
do
one.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on the
Community.
internet,
Well-
but we know each other outside the internet. Though that's the difference is that we're talking on the internet, but we know each
Yeah.
other personally. So
See each
yeah,
other
you can
almost weekly.
use the new technology to define these people as well, but like you got to do the in-person stuff too, because that's how you really get to know people.
I want to back up and just expand with what Brian was saying there, and then what Gavin with what you just said is. So I have a lot of complaints about how society works, which we know. I do this whole podcast thing on Monday, and I complain about the government and people, but doing the things on the internet, I think the internet is a great supplement to being able to keep in touch, especially like in the COVID times, because we can do like Zoom hangouts and stuff. And I mean, obviously, we do the podcast on Monday night, so we're used to this type of an environment where we have a few people having a discussion, and then a couple of people download it and listen to it and yell at us in their car. Or I guess they yell at us in their home now because they don't commute to work any longer because of the Rona. But
Yeah.
we're used to that, and we use the internet as a supplement to our existing relationship, right? Other
Yeah.
people, I don't know that they have that because of the whole deracinated consumer culture. Because you know you go to the Christmas market with everybody else that goes to the Christmas market, but you don't meet anybody or interact with anybody, and then you leave and you go and do your own thing again, and you go back to your house and watch your Netflix and your cape shit, and post on the internet about the superhero movie that you like, right? That's
Yeah,
your,
but you took your photo at the Christmas market so that let everyone know
You
that
were there.
you were there,
You were there,
but you didn't interact with any of the people there.
so you really.
Well,
weren't.
I think that's a big thing is like, so it's okay
Yeah.
to interact with people on the internet. I'm not opposed to that, although
Yeah.
I'm no longer allowed to do it because I've been banned from all the major social media platforms except Twitter, which I refuse to use, and I'm sure would immediately ban me. But I don't interact with people on the internet really anymore, except in like this kind of a setting with like on the show. I would discourage people from using the internet as their means of interacting, not just because the whole like you might lose it kind of a thing, but also if you're building a team of people because of the end times, if the end times come and you've never actually worked together in real life and don't know each other and never been to one another's houses and stuff, like during a crisis is not the time to start doing things in person, right?
So
Like
where do you live?
that does
How do
not
you
seem
get
like
there?
a good plan. Like, I'm not saying don't do stuff on the internet. Don't find like-minded people on the internet. I mean, I assume that there are. I mean, I used to listen to Jack Spirko's the Survival podcast, right? And they talked about like they had a forum and you could talk to people on the forum and then meet them and form mutual assistance groups and all that stuff. I'm not saying don't use those tools, but like recognize that they're tools.
Exactly. I mean, and so, I mean, it's, you know, maybe homosexual is going to sound. Andrew and I first contacted one another over the interwebs.
Yeah. Gavin swiped
then-
right.
Did I ever? But then we actually met in person and did things. Well, obviously, but we don't want to name drop because that's pretentious.
Yeah,
But like
they want their name said. They got to pay money, same as everybody else.
Yeah, or you could just send feedback, then we'll just read whatever. But we actually met in person and did some things together, and like that's how our relationship grew, and now we are friends.
I'd say
It's not like the internet can't be used, but the in-person part of that is still an invaluable part of that, and you can't just be friends on the internet, because if the internet goes down, how are you going to contact these people?
Yeah,
like
radio.
Can you get to my house, or can I get to Gavin's house without Google Maps or the internet?
Well, and I think that's
can
one of
now.
those things is there's nothing wrong with having social circles or people that you work with that are outside of your immediate geographical area, but like part of that is like your team, your special forces ODA has to be close enough together to be close together, like geographically. If you're
across the country, it's a little harder.
What's the film? It's like
You've Got Mail. No, I'm just kidding.
No, the guy gets out of
Sleepless in
prison.
Seattle. That one.
The guy gets out of prison. I can't think of the name, and he's like
Shawshank.
It's Jeremy Renner and somebody else's, and he's like, you have to get in the car. We're gonna Jeremy Renner and Matt Damon.
No. You're talking
Matt Damon.
Ben
Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yeah, you're talking about the town.
We're gonna go beat some guys up, and we can never talk about this. Whose car are we taking? Yours or mine? Like that's the. So I'm not good at pop culture. We know that.
No, The Town was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, but you're gonna have like if someone rolls up and they're like, "Get in, loser. We're doing Patriot stuff."
Yeah, we're going to Deutschland.
Or do you not get in?
Yeah,
we're going to Deutschland.
Of course, we're going to Deutschland.
Right? Like, do you get in the car? Like, do you know the person well enough?
Right, and that's the thing is like that's. When you're building the team, when you're building your team, do you know your teammates well enough to be like, all right, we're going to go hurt some people and you can never ask me about this. You in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like,
like if one of your buddies shows up and says, I need you to do a thing. This is all the information I can give you. Do you trust them enough to go with it or not? And it doesn't matter what it is. Right? If yes, then that's somebody that's on your team. If it's no,
but there could be different levels of that, right? Because like, different people have different sensitivity to these things, and I'm not saying.
Well, like if someone rolls
Gavin's
up and says, "I gotta go murder
like,
this hooker," like then that's a different.
It's like, well, I got kids, and you're kind of on your own on that one, but
right. But like, if you had to bury a hooker,
we can all dig.
Yeah, I got a shovel.
So do I. Exactly. We've all got shovels in two hands.
Yeah, and we could probably get some lie on short notice, but like that's irrelevant.
You want lie?
Neither here nor there.
By 3 o'clock.
Oh man,
I can probably get seed.
Yeah. Wait, what? No. Anyway, so yes,
I gotta
find people, and I'm not the right person to tell people how to find people to do that because I've met my friends from the internet or from shooting guns, and that's probably not the way that most people. Although in the case of listeners to this show, that might be entirely applicable. Go on Gun Nuts and tell people you want to make friends. That might be like a legitimate thing.
We had a
probably get
people
flamed,
that
but you'll find a couple gems.
We
Yeah.
had a bunch of people we'd never met before show up to the Die Hard match.
Yeah.
That or just by putting the podcast out, which obviously is through the internet, but that's how we met Brian. Brian came out to attend one of our shoots, and now he's on the show.
Yep. Wow.
And I don't remember how I found out about
His wife's upset.
The Guelph charity shoot, but I mean I had known Andrew before that, but yeah, I met everybody at the charity shoot basically.
Well, I think that's a good transition to, like, you found some like-minded people. How do you build a team? And in our case, charity shoot was a big deal for the podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met
Being a
Andrew and
podcast, and we
Gavin.
started doing a thing, right?
Yeah.
Do hard thing. That's what you said. Do
Yeah.
hard thing.
Z-
Yeah. and you know, like as corny and like basic white girl as this is going to sound, like, be authentic.
Yeah.
You're right.
Right.
That does sound both corny and basic.
Yeah, I've got my Uggs on and I've got a pumpkin spice latte over
But
there.
your feet
as
are
I say
warm,
it.
so
You sound
But-
cozy.
Yeah. Oh, it's
exactly. Your
super
feet are
cozy.
warm, so you're fine.
Super cozy.
You can't.
But yeah,
not.
like, just be, be your authentic self in everything that you do, and that'll come across, and you will find like-minded people.
Yep.
I mean, if you're a
Well,
phony, you will also find phony people, and that's not going to be very good. So don't
I
do
think
that.
that is a key. I think that is a key factor, because you need to be you, because you don't want to form a team based around the assumption somebody is who they say they are, and then they show up and they can't do what they say they can do.
Yeah.
My gun will shoot quarter minute all day. All right, let's go shooting. You're barely on the paper. You're not on the paper.
What's an MOA?
Right? That's the.
I'm 0 for 100. I can do this at 100.
I can do this at 100, dude. It's 106.
I used
Yeah,
to run
yeah.
the 100-meter dash in like 12 seconds. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. So, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that's
this
part of
is
the do
6
stuff in
inches,
person,
yeah.
right? Do stuff in person.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the team building thing, do hard stuff together. You've got to have that common goal, and doing hard stuff together and getting through things that suck, getting through shitty situations really builds esprit de corps. Like,
Yeah, so listening to my book by Lieutenant David Grossman earlier today, he had a great quote, I think, that ties into all of this. Pain shared is divided. Joy shared is multiplied.
Nice.
So when you
That's
do
tattooed.
shitty, yeah, it crossed my back. Oh wait, I've already got one there. But when you do shitty things with your friends, it sucks less because you have other people to share that misery with.
That's
when you
right.
do
Walking up a
really,
hill
really-
with Gavin because we're going on a rock and we have to stop at the top of the hill because Gavin pulled his butt muscle.
Not
But when
nearly
you do
as
fun
bad.
things with your friends, it's way
Also,
more fun
walking
than
up
doing
a
it
hill with
by-
a rock and
yeah.
watching Gavin pull his butt muscle.
Sometimes those things can be the same thing. It makes it more fun, right? Like, fun shit is fun, but like when you have someone to share it with and talk about it later and tell all of your other friends about it, it's way more fun.
Oh yeah.
Like, we've all seen that the solo Tim show, and it was good.
Poor
But
Tim.
it's better when there are more people because we can share the entertainment value. And when the show sucks and it's only Tim doing it,
We can just blame him.
he can't blame it on anybody else. He has to take that whole burden on himself. A kid, because it's Tim, and we love him and miss him.
He's a great
Right.
guy.
But that's how it works, right? You need your friends there to share, the good times and the bad times, and it makes both of those things better.
Well, that's why they're your true friends. If people stick with you through the bad, and not only the good.
That too.
Man, there's a lot of hooker jokes on YouTube right now. I'm not reading those. Man, you guys are funny. Yeah. Do hard things together. Be a group of people doing stuff. Get a common goal. I think part of that, doing the hard stuff together, is actually training with your team. Whatever that training is, whatever you, again, like, I don't expect everybody is doing
It could just be this
GP
training.
drills and robbing a bank and all of that. Like
That's
Lifting
essential
beers.
to any.
Also essential.
Could be lifting
Well,
weights. It could be
lifting
learning how
beers,
to-
lifting weights, fixing your snowblower.
Yeah,
Again,
taking
I'm
a
going back to
Yeah.
super boring basic amateur radio course together.
Yeah, you guys are
Over
going to
the-
need to like really hold me through this. 'Cause
Over-
I don't know if
over
I'm
the-
going to
over
be able to
the
stick
internet
with it. I was looking through the book.
2.5
I'm like,
months.
oh God, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, I think that's one of those things. So like Gavin and I recognize that one of our weaknesses is radio communication, right? That's not a thing that Gavin and I are good at in our group of friends. Marty, who is absent from the show, I assume because he's busy using his ham radio, is very, very good at electronics
And having all
radios
kinds of
and
fun
things
with
like
it.
that. Right. So like we have somebody that we can lean on for that kind of stuff, much like my snowblower example. I have a new to me snowblower that did not work. So I'm like, Dave, you know how engines work. How do I make snowblower blow snow?
We talked to our parts
Right.
guy Gavin, and then we put it all together.
Right. But that's what I mean. It's like there's the cross training piece with leaning on the experts in your team. So you can have the Dave's not sure about the ham radio.
Dave's
thing,
the
so like,
training guy. I'm the logistics guy, and we fixed your snowblower.
Yeah, exactly.
right, but that's what I mean. So like we can have the fix the snowblower, or we can all suffer together to go through the ham course. Or when we get stuck on the ham course, we can go to Marty and ask him, how do we radio?
Yeah.
My radio's not working. Did you turn it on?
So there's cross training aspect of that, like getting the experts on the team to train the people that lack expertise. There's that built-in cross training functionality of having people with diverse backgrounds and different skill sets. Then there's also like the way that Gavin and I started working together was we were taking the same courses because we were seeking outside professional instruction, right? So we went to somebody who was allegedly an expert in their field. First course Gavin and I took together, they were not actually experts in their field, but that was how it was built.
Yeah.
So we went to someone
So that
else
was
to
the-
learn how to do a thing.
The pain shared. Yeah.
Yeah, pain shared, absolutely. Money lost,
Yeah.
so much money,
But networking.
but networking. So I mean, not a total loss, but we've also done other classes together. Like a bunch of people that we know have all done shooting classes together with other instructors. We have a bunch of people we know have done medical classes with other people.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is to go to those professionals and get the knowledge. And all right, so maybe we haven't all done like a TCCC course, but we got a couple people that we know that have taken TCCC courses and know the material well enough to regurgitate it, right? So maybe we can't teach somebody else as well as we were taught, but we can probably pass on the important bit.
Get
Right, so you
somebody
get more
better
of
than
that-
they were before.
You get more of that internal cross training from the external professional. And there's also the external self training, the figuring it out as you go thing, right? So like you go look up something on the internet or you figure out in a book. Like I don't have a good example of this, but like Gavin and I have talked about lock picking a bunch. Gavin knows how to pick locks. I don't know how to pick locks.
I've dabbled,
Gavin
so
could probably
I could probably
explain
do
to
some
me
like
how to
basic
pick
ones.
some locks. But that's what I mean. Like you kind of you figure it out as you go from like reference material rather than from professional instruction. Right?
Mm.
You give me a book and I can probably figure it out. And then if I get stuck, I can go to Gavin. And then if I want to do more, we can do like professional course. There's like a hierarchy of learning that occurs. Everybody's busy on their Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep those fans happy.
So
Yeah.
there's, I don't know, and Brian's getting naked. Brian's been drinking.
We have somebody on the chat on YouTube commenting that they're TCCC instructors. So we've just got a new member of the team.
All right.
Who's on the chat that says that?
Chris, email
Chris-
me. You're
Chris Spooney.
you're hired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
says
see
to
that.
cross the border.
Oh,
I'm
you
basing
sure
this
it's
off. I'm basing this off the chat.
oh.
I
Well,
assume
I mean,
if he's
Maine-
watching
Maine
the
is
Canadian
not
Patriot
far.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
sure if he's
not
watching the
far.
CPP,
all he
he's
has to
probably
do
Canadian.
is cross the border, say he's a refugee. Then to get back in the United States, he's an American citizen. They'll probably let him in. So yeah, he could probably do it.
It's
I mean, it's
essential
Maine. He can
service.
just walk across the river.
Yeah. there's a section not far from there that's there's an area of land set aside for a particular ethnic group that straddles the border where there is no border. Let's walk through there. You're fine. But our last instructor we brought up from California, so Maine is like
Way
at
easier.
least at least half closer.
Way easier.
Yeah, the drive is probably as long as the flight from California.
I got family in New Brunswick too. We can hide you too if that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, we are not live on the internet with our faces showing. That's all.
Fine. This is an entertainment podcast.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly. It is an entertainment podcast.
Yeah.
No, that is for sure. I'm saying allegedly I have family in places. There you go. He's got family. He's fine.
And anything else?
Oh,
with the
Diesel, you're such a
team building?
character.
And that's why people
I
watch.
overlooked anything you guys want to add to that with the team building piece?
I mean, we could probably go on for hours and hours, but I mean, we are approaching the 2-hour mark.
Well, and I think that, well, we did start late. I think that's probably a good place to leave it then. Probably need to do more follow-ups on episodes on this. I would like to get Ian and some of the prepper people to talk about mags and some of the other.
We could probably expand on that and then some other aspects as well. More preppery.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Next week is book club. We're going to be talking about Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Also, if you haven't got your official Big Luau shirt, you can get it on Amazon through our affiliate link or by going to bigluau.biz.
Yep.
I can't believe that other Andrew set up the .biz, but here we are.
That
So
just shows that he's
buy
part of the team, right?
If you buy an Amazon thing through our affiliate link, we get a portion of the revenue, and that's great. Doesn't cost you anything extra, and if you're using Amazon, I appreciate you doing that. Helps pay for hosting and stuff for the podcast. We'll go around. Where can everybody find Gavin on the internet?
The best place to find me is on the gram, Urbex GTA, all one word.
All right, Benny, where can everybody find you?
Bennyloose.ca. We've got knives that are hopefully going up on the website this week. We'll see. Hair protection, sentry straps.
Talk to your web guy,
you
Benny.
might have knife. You might have knives.
Well, we
That's
have
what I'm
them in
hearing.
stock. We just need to post them. So, I don't like posting things before I have them.
That's
Just
fair.
in
That's
case,
fair.
Yeah. So,
That's the Hero Outdoors business model. Oh, wait, did I say that out loud?
Oops.
Well, they're never sponsoring us, but they're not alone in that. Dave, where can everybody find you?
Find me on the grams at Diesel6223.
Brian? You got social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Brian Quinnell.
All right. If you've listened to the podcast this long, you deserve a discount code. Use Patriot at checkout when you're shopping at Ragnarok Tactical. If you order today, you're not getting that shit in time for Christmas. It's not going to happen. No
Plan
stocking
ahead.
stuffers.
As someone part of
Although-
our podcast, you should have been ready.
You
months
might get
ago.
it. You might get it before the end of Yule, because Yule is 12 days.
That's right.
So
Not
maybe
8
before
days
the
like
new
Hanukkah.
year.
25% more.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. Oh, it's not it. I got to read the show notes. Almost missed. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. Rod is apparently a one-man band and didn't want to come on the show tonight.
Sorry, Rod.
For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North. Strong and free.